Okay, I'm going to continue with my talk about um, how the wool has been pulled over our eyes when it comes to what we commonly call science. So I'm looking at a quote here. This is, I don't know if you can see it, but it's Niels Bohr. And he says, everything we call real is made of things that cannot be regarded as real. If quantum mechanics hasn't profoundly shocked you, you haven't understood it yet. Okay, so he says it's not real. And he's talking about matter. Because we're talking about physical things, physics, right? Quantum mechanics, quantum physics. What else have I got here? Okay, I've got Schrödinger here, okay? He says, what we observe as material bodies and forces are nothing but shapes and variations in the structure of space. And we can go on and on looking at these quotes from quantum physics. But what I'm trying to get at is the best information I got was that Einstein said that matter is only slowed down light. So it's light, which is electromagnetic. It's energy. Light is energy. So matter is energy, and I said that in my previous lecture. What I'm really getting to the heart of is how much dependent we are on stuff like biology that is, it trips us up because we have to use things like medicine to affect our biology. But the biology is perhaps energy. It's information in the energy of the slowed down light that we call matter. And it's a lot of it is screwed up. We've got all these genetic problems. We've got aging and all these diseases that we get, cancers and things. So it's all related to energy. And with energy, the major qualities what we know of energy are frequency, which is how much things move up and down, how fast they move up and down, how fast do they vibrate. So we've got energy vibrating, and I think of cymatics, which is like if you play a certain tone of music next to, if you've got a pot of water, and the water will form a pattern according to the sound that is sent to that water. So, and these different tones produce different frequencies. Okay, so what are we getting at? Well, you're looking at something that's mostly water. And we think of water as a physical thing, but if you just say, okay, it's slowed down energy, and it is in a pattern put together by the biology to create this. Okay, so what do we want to do? Well, we want to figure out what's wrong with this liquid energy that we call humans. And there's so many so-called physical things which are patterns of energy which do physical things to other patterns of energy if you're studying biology. So my wording is different on purpose. Okay, so we got to think of the information that is in all of this liquid energy. Why? Because that is what it is. It is liquid energy. It is something that is not solid, even though it seems solid. But if you follow what the physicists are saying, it is not solid. It is energy that is There's energy that makes up this hand, and it's hitting the energy that makes up my chest. So this is not a physical solid thing. This is energy. And this is energy here. And the hit, and we say, well, it's an impact. But it's not an impact of a physical thing against a physical thing. It's an energy hitting another energy. Okay, I'm going to jump to another topic. I have the idea that the history of biology is somewhat cooked up. It's cooked up and packaged for us by biology textbooks and biology courses. And they give you very, what they used to call, when I took biology, elegant explanations for why this is that. And you go over this in one lecture, and they go over the experiment, and they say it's very elegant, and this is what they used, and this is what they used. But you don't see it in detail. And when I go on the internet to look for the detail of a lot of this early stuff to do with biology and DNA. Now, why am I concerned about it? I'm concerned about it because the information isn't there. So it's like this elegant thing that proves this and that. And what did they use? Well, they had something else to prove it. But the story is lost. The story is lost. So, in certain cases, it's like, well, they proved this because they used this other biological thing that they had. I guess I'm from Missouri. It's like, you got to show me. I don't want this story. Because, well, I don't know, because it's too elegant. It's too wrapped up and too easy and too bite-sized, so I can accept it and just move on. Well, they proved it this way. It's just a story, because I don't even see, a video of what they were looking at. So, this is the way it is given to you. It is given to you as a story that you had a little blurb, 1/3 of a textbook, and they say this is the explanation of how it happened. But you don't see the actual scientists in the lab doing this work. Originally. Well, maybe they didn't film everything that they were doing. They submitted these reports, written reports, to journals. And then the journals were, basically read, and then somebody wrote up a little script that said this is what they found and this is how they did it. But it seems too perfect. It's too perfect. They just so happen to have this catalyst available that would go and dismember some RNA or some DNA. They had just had all this stuff available. And then I read another thing on the internet, and it said, well, they found this particular kind of RNA catalyst because one method that they used was they boiled all this stuff. And the last little bit, everything else was denatured except for this substance. And this substance was the stuff that we wanted for. Really. Of all the different stuff that was in there, the last thing that didn't become denatured means torn apart. When they boiled something, it was the last thing, and it was the exact stuff we were looking for. Why wasn't it the second last thing you were looking for? The last thing that boiled wasn't the stuff you were looking for. You already lost it. How do you know what it is that you're looking for? Are you seeing where I'm coming from? The story is too elegant. It's too perfect. It's not the way things are in real life. It's like if you go into somebody's workshop, and if they're not a good carpenter where they go and they take the hammer, and then they take a black marker and they marker around the outside of the hammer, and they draw that on the wall so this is where the hammer goes. You go in and it's a mess. This person just throws everything anywhere. It's like they had all these tools and all the nails and everything, and they just dumped it in the utility room. And you walked in there and you were looking for something, and you go, "Oh my God, it's totally disorganized in here." And then all of a sudden, you just reach over and you grab a hammer that just happens to be buried under, 6 feet of lumber, and there it is. That's not how it works. If you were looking for that hammer, you'd just start in a corner and you'd start, picking stuff up and maybe throwing it into another room until you got all the way through to the point where you found the hammer. Kind of like trial and error. Where is it now? Where is it now? I hate doing this job. Where the hell's the hammer? Is the hammer even here? And yet these people, when they did all this work, it was an elegant way of proving things. And they just so happened to have everything that worked out absolutely perfect. I know when I was growing up, things didn't work out absolutely perfect. And yet these people, it worked out perfect for them. And this is the great story because they were the greatest minds. They were the greatest minds, and they managed to get all of this information perfect to prove this to you. So I've got big issues with it. Unless they were guided. So that's my next thought. Okay, well, they made these things up, and maybe this is all true. Maybe, because I still haven't seen the proof. I don't have the videos of what they saw. It's just a story. But let's just go with the idea the story is true. Well, to get this perfect thing, they were guided. So were there extraterrestrials that they were in touch with? William Tompkins, in his book, said that he was guided by extraterrestrials when he did work at Lockheed for the military-industrial complex. He said he was getting ideas by telepathy. So, and he said it was extraterrestrials. He said it was Nordic aliens, secretaries. William Tompkins, guided by extraterrestrials. You can read the book. Or way back in the day, were they was it intuition? Were they guided by God or something? They were great minds. They were noted, PhDs in their fields. They were how did they get this stuff? Isn't it curious? Well, I know you haven't done all the research that I've been doing with this stuff, but every time I look at it, I have to question it. Why don't we have, a foolproof cure for cancer? We keep taking these physical things, physical chemotherapy, or we take radiation. All kinds of diseases that we don't have cures for them. And it seems like we're not getting anywhere. And then things come out, and then later on you're told, well, it doesn't work so well. I think something's fishy. I think they're sitting on all kinds of information about how to go and about everything. Everything. I don't trust them. Why don't I trust them? Because look at Big Pharma. Look at how they're overcharging for insulin. Insulin, it should be free. It should be free. But it's not. It's so expensive that there's reports, and I put them on my Instagram, there's reports of somebody who died because they couldn't afford their insulin to keep themselves going. So I cannot trust Big Pharma, and which means that's who employs all these scientists. So I don't trust the scientists. And who owns Big Pharma? It's the Illuminati. It's the Rockefellers. It's the 1%ers. So they are keeping us in the dark on purpose. And they're the ones that own all the publishers who give all the textbooks, and the politicians and Minister of Education and all the people in the Department of Education who have to approve what is going to be the curriculum taught to the children. Who pulls the strings of the politicians, the Illuminati, the Rockefellers, the filthy rich? because they've got the money to buy the election. And once they're in there, then who controls? Well, I own the publishing company, and this is what our official thing is, because this is what our Rockefeller scientists have put out. So it goes in the books, and then it goes in the universities and the high schools, and this is what the children are taught. It's all elegant. When it comes down to it, you have to try and figure it out for yourself, because you can't afford this Rockefeller medicine anymore, because they keep putting the price up. So I'm going to poke a big hole in all this stuff. Am I over there yet? Well, not yet. But somewhere along this path, we have got to remember that you and I are consciousness, and we are not physical things. I am talking through an energetic body, the body made of energy. It is not a physical thing, it is energy, according to Einstein. Slowed down energy, but it is energy moving. It's slowed down to the point where our senses can note it. What are senses? Well, something that reports to our consciousness. So how does our consciousness interact with senses? We used to think, well, senses are physical things. They're like nerves. Well, what's a nerve? Well, we used to say it's a physical, biological thing. But there's no such thing as anything physical. It's all energy. So somehow consciousness and energy, are they the same thing? I don't think they're the same thing. I think they're two different items. Consciousness is not the same thing as energy, but somehow consciousness can affect energy. Have I given you enough to go on right now? I feel like it's very muddy. Even when I'm going through this, it's very difficult because I'm trying to convert stuff that I find on the internet into quantum. And all this early biological stuff was all chemistry. It was physical chemistry. In other words, it was working with matter. And even today, if you were to think of everything is considered to be matter, and that there's no matter. It's another word for energy. And this energy has got, shapes. So the energy has got shapes. Complicated shapes that you can take a picture of. So we're looking at pictures of energy. And this energy, when you see a pair of scissors, you know what the shape of scissors are. So energy has got very complicated shapes. How does that happen? It's very complicated. It's very complicated. If you think of what they tell you about these, like proteins. How do proteins get to be so complicated if they're energy? What makes the energy form these patterns? You keep looking, and you keep looking, and you keep looking. I've lost myself, so I gotta go. But there you go. That's 20 minutes of muddying the water. Am I going to clear the water for you? Well, I'm planting seeds in my own head about things that don't make sense to me. I don't think biology should be taught the way it's taught, because the history of how they got this stuff is not presented properly. It is a little, a few paragraphs in a biology textbook, and that's what we're all led to believe. And then it gets us hooked into believing we can't do it ourselves. We have to be dependent upon big corporations to cure us, and they're not doing it. So we have to go around them. What have we got that they don't have? Our own consciousness. You don't have the money and the resources to do it, so we're going to have to do it with our own consciousness. And that's okay. I mean, Albert Einstein was famous for his thought experiments, and a lot of these people in quantum physics as well. So we're going to use our thought and our thinking and our intuitions to try and figure it out. And what I want to do is bypass all of these physical medicines that we've got. And then we might go back and look to see how they created all these diseases on purpose. Because that's what I feel that they've done. They're very dark, these people. You know, the Biowarfare Center, where they create things to hurt humans. Biowarfare. They've studied this stuff for a long time. And they use it because they want to kill life. Don't trust people that want to kill you. Don't trust them. And the problem is that, the society that they control is all designed to make you, nod your head, yes or no, sir, yes or no, sir. Don't ask any questions. I've given you enough so that you can say, well, I know, because every time I go to the gas pump, the price goes up, and the food gets going up, and the rent goes up, and my wages don't go up. So they're turning the screws. They're trying to screw me. And they're trying to kill me with all of this chemtrails and poison in the food. Every time I turn around, I look on my Facebook feed, and it's like more food that you can buy at the grocery store is contaminated with crap, poison. So why is that happening? It's because they don't like you. They don't want you around. They're trying to kill you. Agenda 21. Henry Kissinger. Reduce the world population. Who do they want to get rid of? The useless eaters. That's people that are not filthy rich. They've automated a lot of jobs. They don't need you to do labor jobs anymore, so they want you to go away. They want you gone. How are you going to get around this? You got to outsmart them. Keep watching. I got more videos coming.